Oklahoma State Cowboys, Cowgirls director of tennis and the Cowgirls tennis head coach. And Chris, good morning.
Good morning, Robert. How are you?
I'm good. You and I don't think we talked maybe briefly, um, but the day everything happened, which was Thursday, March 12th. I was actually in the parking lot next to the tennis center and eating a salad from the salad bar at Food Pyramid when I heard the announcement on radio. Not just the men's and women's March Madness basketball championships being canceled, but all of the spring sport championships by the NCAA being canceled. And I immediately looked over at the tennis center and I said, "Woo, oh my gosh, you're the first person I thought of." And I drove my car over. The little gate was open to the little private parking area you guys have. I zoomed in there, parked, went into the tennis center, started walking all around trying to look for you, and I couldn't find you. Went outside, text. I think you were on the phone at that point. From what you text back, um, and said, "Hey, I'll talk to you. I'll give you a comment tonight." But you were the first person I thought of, and I know that's a long um, intro to the question. How did you feel immediately? Because I really felt of everybody that announcement probably cost you the most
Yeah, it's
on
one
campus.
of those that I feel like we felt the effects of it, the cost of it is probably much more now real than ever before. This week on Monday would have been typically the selection show, and we'd be getting ready for this Friday to typically host first and second rounds, which we've done every year since 2015, and kind of getting the actual tournament started. I think another factor that we're feeling right now is just the fact of, we had a lot of great donors and supporters, and we poured a lot of money into our facilities and our preparation to host the championship. And, that's money you're never going to get back. And with the way that, the times are right now, um, it definitely is a hard pill to swallow. The fact that you did all these things to prepare for something that's never going to happen, and you wish you had those funds now available, as a backup and as a resource in case things, change in our economy or just the state of college athletics. So, I think it's now set in a lot more that day. It really hadn't, because my first thought went to our kids and taking care of our players. And, there was so much unknown. There was so much that was changing with having so many professional kids and understanding a little bit about what that was going to mean to them, and the fact that we were going to need to take care of them in a special way and get them home, and or get them taken care of here, and figure all that out. It really just, I spent so much time the next 24 to 48 hours focusing on our players and what they needed to do to not really think about that far ahead in the championship. Because if you remember, especially on that day, the decision was made just to postpone the Big 12 through the next 2 weeks, just to the end of March. And so, my thought process at the time also was that maybe, we've reacted a little quickly, hastily in this situation, and maybe things are going to change. We didn't have any clue to how this thing was going to grow, and the magnitude of it. That particular day on Thursday, we learned fairly quickly, how things were going. But, in that moment, how I was thinking, it was more about the kids, and okay, maybe let's just get through these next few weeks and see if things don't turn around.
I don't think there's any doubt that, and I think it was born from the tournament, the national championships that were held in Tulsa when the Greenwood Tennis Center was used as some backup for some backup play because of weather. And the folks that were involved with NCAA tennis, the tennis committee, saw the facility, and then of course later, you guys would put in the bid to host the championship. That the Greenwood Tennis Center was going to be just absolutely a neat venue. That this would have been, it would have been a nice fit. in that regard. And then I know because this is a long event, it's been shortened some because not as many teams go to the championship site now, but it's still two tournaments in one. It's the team event, and then you come back with the singles and the doubles. I know it's going to Orlando to a new facility with the USTA, but what I know from talking to Coach Holder, he said you were busy trying to get Oklahoma State and Stillwater another opportunity. Where does that stand, Chris?
Well, right now, like you said, it's going back to Orlando, which is the home of the United States Tennis Association. They have a 100-court tennis center that's new that, they hosted it last year. We were kind of in the middle of them, and then they were getting it next year. And then it goes to Illinois through 2022. So the bids have been played out through 2 more years, Orlando next year or Illinois 2022. And then starting in 23 through 26, those are this next bid cycle that will be announced in early fall. Those meetings will start taking place looking at the bids in July, and we know we're going to get strong consideration for that. I think that, we've had some good conversation with the NCAA. We've talked with them about different factors, involving kind of what our desires would be, and our desire would be to have it in 2023. I think you take it as soon as you can get it. If they're going to allow us to be awarded another opportunity, and with the extension of the eligibility of players getting an extra year, then all of our players, with the exception of one, Lisa Marie, would still be here in 2023 because we had such a young team. So the fact that our players would still have an opportunity to compete, they would be much older and more mature, and hopefully, playing even better, I think would be something that's very exciting. I think the only concern we have is the USDA for this next bid cycle. They want it all. They want to be the permanent home of the tennis championship. And so when this decision is made, it's going to be very interesting just to see, how that is taken into consideration. And that's my greatest concern right now, that I've tried to be on a lot of calls and a lot of discussions just to keep this event more on college campuses, even if it's, every few years.
I'm not above begging and pleading, and that would be my thing. Is look, we worked really hard on getting ready to host this. If you do think you're going to go take it to Orlando for a permanent basis, delay that 1 year and let us host the championship that we were awarded and that we worked on. I mean that
Yeah,
the NCAA likes to talk about fairness. To me, that's fairness.
yeah, that's that's been my plea kind of all along, and kind of what I've told them, regardless of that decision, the decision of making us right and making us whole, I think needs to be considered. And I think the USTA understands that. I think our governing body for college tennis understands that. There's been a lot of discussion about, what's right for Oklahoma State. But, you just never know when these things get going. So, I think it's obvious to all of us here that we would do a good job hosting a championship, and we're excited about it. We had this fan festival we were going to put on as part of the championship. We had worked locally with a lot of our Buick dealers, especially Aaron Wilson, just did such a tremendous job of helping me kind of, connect with some people. And we had a lot of other corporate partners that were going to jump on board. We were going to have concerts after the matches of the team events in the evenings, and just a lot of things for our community and people that were coming into this event. So it's going to be much more even than just the tennis event itself. It was definitely going to be a festival for, our community and hopefully our entire state and region. So I think that's the part of it that I hate for Oklahoma State and for Stillwater. The economic stimulus that this event would have brought, which is estimated $6 to $7 million for the 10 days that it's in town, and the teams come for a few days before. So you're talking about a 14-day event that's going to bring millions of dollars to our city. And for it not to be able to happen after planning for 4 years, I think is just disappointing.
Yeah. How are your girls? And I know there've been some awards passed out. As always, you've had some academic honorees and tennis honorees. Same on the men's side, All Americans. Um, but how is everybody in the Oklahoma State tennis family?
Yeah, I'd say, yesterday was a really banner day for men's and women's tennis. I mean, each team had two All Americans named. For the girls now, we didn't have an All American from 1991 to 2014. There wasn't anybody named All American. And now since 2014, we're a small group of schools that's had at least one All American every year since 2014. So 7 straight years now we've had at least one person named All American, and in a couple of years during that time we've had two players, and yesterday was Lisa Marie and Ayumi Miyamoto. So for those girls to be named All American primarily for their doubles was exciting, and the guys had Monte Muscle and Dominic Kolofsky also named it. In the Big 12 conference, only two schools had All Americans yesterday. Texas had two men, and Oklahoma State had two men. And on the women's side, Texas had two women, and Oklahoma State had two women. But no other Big 12 schools had All Americans. It's tough in tennis. You got 20 singles and 10 doubles. There's not many All Americans. Based on the number of participants in our sport. So it's a tough thing to be named All American. So we're really happy with those kids, and we had 5 players named academic All Big 12 yesterday. So I'm really proud of their accomplishments, and hopefully those things don't just get lost in everything that's going on right now. I think it still shows that our kids are accomplishing a lot on and off the court. As far as their well-being, I think the kids are doing great. We have two girls that their borders to their countries are still closed. They're not able to get back, so they're still here in Stillwater. So trying to keep tabs on those two girls especially, and make sure that they're getting everything they need. The athletic department has done a great job of helping support the kids that chose to stay here or had to stay here, during this time. And the rest of the kids are in their respective homes and countries. And this week is supposedly dead week, and or what we used to call dead week. And last week before finals is next week, and then we'll be done with the semester. So we're always wanting to stay on top of them and check in with them and make sure they're getting everything they need academically. It's such an interesting time with everything being online. The kids are used to being able to have some tutoring and some options to be able to get some questions answered. But our academic center with Marilyn, Mike Noteware, Agatha, doing a great job of just helping touch base with these kids, making sure that they're staying on top of their schoolwork. We've had a 3.7 GPA or higher for 5 semesters now. So we're, pushing our girls to try to get that again this semester, and keep our standards high for academics as well.
How much is now? Isn't a lot of the coursework for this semester going to end up being pass fail?
Well, they're going to have an option at the end of
Okay.
the semester. That's it's not.
Yeah.
We're not having our kids go into it with that mindset. We want them
All
to
right.
score as high as they can in their classes, and then
Sure.
at the end of the semester, you can choose a pass fail option, which gives you credit if you take the pass. I mean, if you pass, and you can just take the pass option. As I understand it, you get credit for the course, but the grade then doesn't factor into your GPA. So there could be some kids that just barely pass, but they don't want that to negatively affect their GPA. Or you could take the
Hmm.
fail option if you failed the class, but not have that affecting your GPA and your transcript. So I think that's definitely an option. Hopefully, that's not an option for any of our kids. Hopefully, they finish the semester strong as they usually do.
All right. And again, Chris Young with us, assistant athletic director for tennis at Oklahoma State, as well as the women's tennis coach. Um, One of the things that came across, this morning is the name, image, and likeness. It's nothing final. That's going to happen later on, but the Board of Governors did kind of rubber stamp the recommendations that the committee put before them, and I would think again, you know, I don't know how much money is going to be in the economy to pay for endorsements from college athletes, but um, you know, in your sport, uh, you know, with the involvement with rackets and fashion, as long as it doesn't have an Oklahoma State logo on it. Um, is that something you're paying close attention to, or are you saying, I don't know if people are going to reach out that much to the tennis, because you have had a number of players that have been immensely popular, if not just on campus. You've had some of those, but you've had some kids that have come from areas where they were, like you said, part professional to begin with, and they'd already developed a pretty good following before they even got to Oklahoma State.
Yeah, I think anytime there's NCAA legislation, things that are being passed, it's very very important as coaches that we pay attention to it. I think there's still a lot to be vetted out with name, image, and likeness. I think it goes without saying that it probably is going to affect football and men's basketball as much as anyone. So I think that's going to be kind of where things start. But I think there's going to be situations that we want to pay attention to see if there's opportunities for our kids. We always want to do what's best for our players and student athletes, put them in the best situation possible to give them any opportunities possible. I think, you can think back to, we were just talking about the NCAA championships, and you think about our 2016 run, and I think there were some kids there that definitely their ID and name recognition grew during that period of time. And it may be something that just happens periodically with some of our players. There could be just different, situations where they have a special moment or something, and they have an opportunity in some way to capitalize on that. I think that's definitely a possibility.
Nobody worked harder. I don't know that I've ever seen. I've seen Gary Ward work extremely hard to get baseball regionals back in the day when he was coaching, and Allie Reynolds Stadium was a new facility, and he worked really hard to get regionals to Oklahoma State.